Welcome to Two Guys Garage. Today it's all about some fun with an F-150. Whether it's old or new, we're going to show you some paint tips.
Yeah, we're going to tear this thing apart right out of the gate. We haven't even collected any dust on this sucker.
Yeah, man.
Pulling parts, making modifications, and we're going to show you all the 101s with paint so you can modify your ride too. Got it?
Yep.
All right, now you just buy a brand new truck. What? You showed up at the job site, and all of a sudden, you see everybody else's truck with cool stuff on it, and you got truck envy?
Yeah, you still got your window sticker on, but you have truck envy. Not fair.
Well, we're gonna change some of that, because, you know, there's nothing like overcoming truck envy than showing off your stuff and making those guys jealous of you.
Now we got a hood from Everything Chrome Parts, and I like it because it's a little more aggressive. It's got a step-up cowl hood on it versus the stock look. It's just gonna look tougher, more aggressive, something you want on the job site.
And it's a real easy mod, you know, you can do it in a short amount of time. It's really inexpensive, but it can change the look, make your truck unique. Yeah. But you know what? This hood doesn't come in this color.
Right.
So we've got to make that changeover.
Yeah, and you can't just automatically start sanding it, priming it, and throwing it on, right? You want to make sure you do a couple steps prior, making sure the truck hood fits proper on your brand new ride.
Yeah, you know, obviously you're going to look to make sure that it's the right hood for your truck, but then you're going to start looking at the details. We're going to bolt it on and start looking at the gaps. Make sure when you set it down, you adjust it. Make sure that it's going to be right, so after you've painted it, you don't go put it on and all of a sudden you've scratched it, it doesn't fit right. So let's start step number one before we get too carried away and start checking this thing out.
Eliminate those headaches first, right? Okay, one of the first things you want to do when you're fitting your hood is tape off all the corners and protect it, because you're going to get in here, finesse this thing, especially in these back corners. That way, if it slides off your hand or you're sitting there trying to do 2 or 3 things at once, you know these corners are pretty protected.
Yeah, now we're going to slowly drop this hood down. We don't have any of the hydraulics or springs on the hood because we don't really need them for just check and fit. And we're going to start watching that corner back there as we go down. I'm going to be listening for Willie to scream if we're getting close to the edge.
I'm looking pretty good.
Yeah, my side looks all right. Hey, man, how about you?
Not bad, man.
Not bad, not bad, right out of the gate. I'm a little loose over here.
And I'm a little tight up here, so we could loosen up just a little bit, kick it a little sideways.
All right, so that's pretty easy because, you know, you've got the 4 bolts there, and you can slide this hood around a little bit and you try to, you know, equalize the gaps. You don't have to get anything perfect. All it's got to do is kind of look normalized all the way around. Now, the one thing I see is we're a little low here. Right. So what we can do...
A little low here is just the bumpers.
Yep, we got a little bit of these little bumpers so we can raise them up and dial that in. Let's give that a try. Yep, so we're getting closer. Better. So we can keep working this thing, and you know, if you can't quite get it with just the hood, you can start working the fenders. Especially when you're putting a whole car together, what you're gonna do is you work the hood, the fenders, the doors, and you're gonna move everything kind of around until it all looks good. There's quite a bit of an art to it.
Yeah, it's a little finesse here, a little finesse there, 1/8 of an inch up here, a little lower here, and sooner or later you'll get everything balanced, fit, where you get that nice little line. It's all parallel on every adjacent corner.
Now the new stuff is pretty good quality. Yeah. So the newer cars, it's pretty easy to, like this one, almost just drop it on. On, you know, a lot of older cars, and you know, sometimes you get these cheaper repop stampings, and you're gonna have to get a little angry with it. Yeah. You know, you're gonna have to push on the door, and you know, maybe you'd put a 2x4 under here. Be careful and just kind of reshape an arc or something. But you know, just be careful. But sometimes, you know, anger makes things happen.
Makes it worse.
All right, so we've got just a little bit more adjustment. We can tighten our screws down in there, recheck everything. So let me grab my little ratchet. I got mine. And let's shift this thing over just a hair. All right, that should be tight. Let's see how we did. All right. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
Good. Mine tightened up nice.
Tweaked out? All right. Good. All right, we got this thing pretty much where we want it to be. Now, if we just go pop it off and go paint it, we got to start it all over again.
Right.
So
that's why you want to make sure you index the brackets. All right, it's always good to use a drill bit.
I've got an 1/8 inch bit, and by drilling straight through, I've got a hole matching from bracket, you know, to hood. So when we go to put the hood back on, I can take the bit, flip it around, stick it up through the hole, locate the hood to here, so the hood goes right back to where we had it just now without having to go through the fuss and potentially scratch the paint. So I'm going to put one on each side. We're ready to pull it back off. Now start our sanding process. Hey, all right. Now we did all our mock-up. We feel really good about how the hood's going to sit on the truck. Now we're doing that first step of sanding. So I'm going to hit everything with about 320. I've already got primer on here, so I can pretty much scuff it, get a nice little mechanical surface to start laying down my layers. Now before I went and started sanding on it, I wiped it down with wax and degreaser so that I don't take any oils that are on there and sand them into the hood itself. Then I can go through and start my scuff process. Now I don't want to get my DA in some of these hard areas or on the edges because I'll take that primer right off. So I can use something like a Scotch-Brite pad, and they come in basically different grits, like a 400-ish to a 600 grit. And what I can do is I can work that pad, fold it however I need to, get it in here, work all those little corners and edges without breaking through the primer. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go around. I'm going to make sure I've got all the little nooks and crannies. This thing is ready to start coating.
And these Scotch-Brite pads come in super handy. The red's about 400, the gray's about 600 to 800, and there's white that can come in up to 1,000. So
yeah, and they've even got these new Scotch pads with foam backing on them.
Yeah.
And what's neat about them is when you're sanding, a lot of times your fingerprints can push a lot harder than in between. So the foam pads and the way you fold over the Scotch-Brites can keep from leaving your finger marks in there.
That's great, man. But the problem with this is I never ever get a hood in this good a condition. Like when they arrive at my house, man, it's always, it's much different. It's about like that.
Hey, man, this was gonna be an easy job, dude.
Yeah, it was. It's just a little pucky there. So let's get after that, right?
Yeah, well, we know that you leave something around your shop, your kid's gonna hit it with the bicycle, it falls over, so.
Or a hammer.
We're creating a little more real situation. I guess what we're gonna be working on when we come back from break, so stick around.
Come on.
If your vehicle's keyless remote is broken or lost, don't go to the dealership and overpay for a new one. Dorman offers 2 convenient keyless remote options to save you time and money. If your remote still works, but the case is beat up or broken, Dorman has replacement cases that allow you to switch over your old electronics to the new case in seconds. If you've lost your remote completely or it isn't fixed by putting in a new battery, Dorman offers a full line of programmable keyless entry remotes. The replacements will look and function like the original, and you can program the new remotes inside the car in only a few minutes without any special tools. This tech tip is brought to you by Dorman Products, the leader in new-to-the-aftermarket product solutions.
Man, I'm glad you didn't have a bigger hammer in your hand when you made that ding.
It's not that bad, but you know all about some of those magical mystery dents that just all of a sudden appear on your car and you're like, what?
Yeah, well, here's a little ding, just an easy example of how simple it is to fix some of these things. So we're gonna flip this thing over so we can get better access with the hammer dolly.
Oh yeah.
All right, so, get yourself a nice little stable working surface there, and Willie's gonna bring out the big tools.
Right, now what happened when I hit it is I stretched that metal so it bent and stretched this way. Now that we flipped it over, I'm gonna address that stress, if you will, that we put on it. So this is a flat surface. I found the flattest hammer that I could get for this surface, and they come in all kinds of hammers. You can find shrinking hammers, stretching hammers, and so forth.
Yeah, so he's gonna support the bottom half, and because we flipped it over, the pockmark is standing up this way. And what he's gonna do is actually compress and shrink those molecules back. And he's gonna shrink them back down until it's flat. And you can kind of hear the different sounds as you're banging. It'll be a little more hollow, and as the metal actually collapses, and I sandwich it between the hammer and the dolly, you'll hear a higher ting sound. And that's when you've got the thing pretty flat, you keep feeling it. Now you gotta be careful, because once you're flat, and once you actually start smacking the flat metal, you're gonna thin it out.
Right.
It's gonna stretch.
A good rule of thumb is when you hear that ding, right, through that metal, is move on just a little bit, because you got a good lick on it, and you can heat up those molecules and keep that bend and keep it coming out.
Yeah, now because you're flattening the metal when you bang on it, it's stretching. The ends are constrained, so it's gonna start bowing up. So you're gonna actually stretch the metal out, and you're gonna have a high spot if you're not careful. So that's feeling pretty good. All we gotta do now is flip it back over work it down a little bit, put a squeegee on it of a little bit of filler, it'd never happened.
Right, never happened.
Let's check out the other side. Okay. Yeah, pretty nice and smooth. It's almost like it's not there, but we'll give it a little skim coat.
Right.
Gone.
Erased. The kid never hit the truck with the bike. Okay, so what I'm doing now is addressing that little dent area that we had. You want to get real aggressive with it first so you get a good mechanical bond on the filler we're going to put in. So I hit it with this, the stone, if you will, at first. It's like an 80 grit, so it gets down to the bare metal. Then I'll come back and I'll feather it out with something like a 220. And then I'll get a little finer out with some 400. So you want to start out about a quarter size, then go a little bigger with the 220 and even bigger with the 400 so you get a nice, even, smooth surface.
After blowing everything off, getting a good wipe down again with that wax and degreaser, you know, it's time to add a little bit of filler. We're going to use glaze instead of filler because there's hardly an imperfection there. So I've got my hardener and my glaze, and I'm going to make sure that I work it really good and it's mixed real well. And we've got that 80 grit right there in the center. So all I've got to do is make sure this is looking nice and uniform. I'm ready to come in here. Plop some in there like that. I want to push it in, make sure it's got a good bite to it, and pull it across. Now, it's going to shrink as it dries, so I don't need to like perfectly squeegee it across because it'll shrink and then it's going to still be low. Let it be a little bit high, and that's probably good. I'll let that dry and harden real nice. It's going to block out real simple. I'll go back and forth, crisscross, blend it out. Then I'm ready to take it over to my painter. Now he's going to take and just spot this in with primer a little bit so it's all covered, sand it out just like the rest of the hood. Then he's ready for the sealer. Now he's got a little window there. Once it flashes over, then he can go ahead and put the base coat right on top. And from there, he can put the clear on it. And that thing is going to look pretty shiny blue. We're going to take a break. You guys stick around.
I've heard the mass airflow sensor is a sensitive part on my engine, but what does it do and how do I maintain it? The mass airflow sensor allows the computer to adjust injector pulse based on the type of air flowing through the engine. You really need to maintain this component of your car because carbon and dirt can begin to form on the housing and sensitive electronics, causing the MAF sensor to malfunction. When cleaning the MAF housing and sensor, don't just use any carburetor cleaner or brake parts cleaner. These cleaners can degrade the plastic housing and the main sensor in the unit. Use something specific like CRC's Mass Airflow Sensor Cleaner. The spray is strong enough to clean carbon and other deposits, but is safe on the plastic housing and exposed filaments. Once you spray the housing down, let it dry, sometimes overnight, before you put it back in the car. You may find a clean mass airflow sensor reduces rough idle and improves fuel mileage. This tip is brought to you by CRC Industries, makers of Brake Clean, the #1 brake parts cleaner.
You go, Kev.
Right.
It looks great, man.
Oh, looks good on there. Blends and matches just nice.
Hammer time all gone.
That's right, a little bit extra style. Now, speaking of style, now this truck came with some chrome on the grille and the bumpers, but a lot of black pieces everywhere else.
Black on the running boards and on the door handles. And I think after a couple weeks, he's decided he wants to take that chrome theme and put it throughout the entire truck.
Yeah, dress up, you know, some of that stuff that just doesn't quite have the pop. And the blue looks really good with the chrome, I gotta admit.
Yeah, you're right. And we got a bunch of stuff from Everything Chrome Parts. So instead of that sock factory looking black grill that may have came on it, they offer a couple cool options for us.
Yeah, now ours came with the chrome version of this, but the Ford trucks also come with the black. Now, if you want to swap out, they've got, you know, the grill you can put on, or just a real easy snap-on version. You just click it on. Looks just like it came from the factory, but you don't have to put on a single screw.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, now this is a cool option too. This looks like the old Lincoln Blackwood grill. And I think the owner really kind of is liking this one, so we'll put this one back on instead of the original.
Yeah. And check this out, they sent us some Nerf bars. Again, Everything Chrome Parts. Cool part about this is most Nerf bars, you know, end it, they cap it with a big old black plastic
it's like a
chunk.
tube with a plastic cap.
And it always comes off. It always falls out and so forth. So these guys at Everything Chrome Parts had the whole thing chrome. So we'll get this on, get those old stock factory black running boards off, and dress the truck up accordingly the whole way out so we can carry that chrome theme.
Add a little bit of pizzazz, and before you know it, we're ready to give it back to them.
All right.
Right, let's check her out.
Last couple bolts in our Nerf bars. Continue that chrome theme throughout.
Yeah, we got a couple little bolts to tighten up once we get everything kind of squared away. But we're gonna take a break. See you back here in a minute.
Hey, welcome back. All right, now we're finishing up the mods on our truck. We got a pretty cool tonneau cover from Everything Chrome Parts. Real simple mechanism to put this thing on and lock it down. You just slide this thing inboard, right? When you want it done last, when you want it last, you just come in, and this little cam mechanism just goes underneath the lip of your bed, and boom, locks down. Pretty simple. You gotta love the ease of that.
Ba-bam!
Bam! Tailgate up.
So, nice look. Good functionality, and you know what? We've added a few other little pops to the wheels.
Boom.
We got the mirror covers.
We got the B-pillar covers as well. We got just enough chrome, some flair on this truck to make it look great. We got that new hood, gives it a little, I don't know, more aggressive look, if you will.
And you know what? If you want more stuff, if you want goodies all over the place, you know, the guys over at Everything Chrome Parts, they can hook you up with whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? I think we put in a good day's work. You know, but we're out of time for the minute. We'll be back in a few. All right, today's tip is trying to understand a little bit the difference between tire control and body control on your vehicle relative to shocks and struts. Now, we kind of think about shocks and struts maybe with tire control. You know, you're hitting different pavements, different surfaces, potholes, and that wheel is going up and down, right? Well, that shock is controlling that, keeping that tire planted on the ground, making sure you've got a good contact pressure, and we've got good control in the vehicle when you're trying to do maneuvers, steering, stopping, accelerating. Well, there's also body control. If you think about it, you've got thousands of pounds floating, you know, on springs over these tires, and that body is just sitting there ready. As soon as you do a maneuver, it's gonna lean one direction or another direction or backwards and forwards. So you've got to control not only the tire, but the vehicle. Now, you think about it like, you know, pat your head and rub your belly and maybe switch hands, and you're doing two things at once, and that's what the shocks and the struts are doing. So it's really important that the valving, you know, as it wears out, you know, it's going to start losing both of those, whether it's the body control or the tire control, and you want to make sure that your vehicle is up to speed, up to snuff. So check out the KYB brand. They're all about bringing back that OE performance, and they'll even put enhancements in there for the older vehicles to try to make up for some of the degradation on some of the other worn parts. And check out KYB at your Federated Auto Parts store. Hey, welcome back to the break room. Yeah. We are browsing through 6 separate catalogs for Chevy trucks from Classic Parts of America.
Yeah, they break them out in the most popular years from 1947 all the way up to 1998. They're located in the Midwest, so you get your parts within 1 to 3 business days. And the great thing is they've been in business for 30 years, so there's nothing in these catalogs that you don't need, can't find. If it's on your truck, it's in these catalogs.
And then some. If you lost a doorknob, if your weather stripping is just a little bit too old, you got to rewire that truck, you name it. It's all in here. It's fun to shop. Get your free catalog or check them out online. Classic Parts of America. All right, so you picked up a brand new Mustang. Yeah. You got the 3.7 liter pumping out over 305 horsepower. That thing is awesome. But you look at your neighbor, and he's got the 5 liter, and you got a little envy going on. So what do? You upgrade some stuff, and you get the look and feel with this quad dual Stainless steel exhaust from Magnaflow.
We get that throaty sound, dyno-proven performance. It reduces restriction, increases flow capacity, and literally puts horsepower at the rear tires.
Yeah, and it looks cool because the V6s only come with one side. They give you a nice little template for the other side. You can cut out the exact same opening. So now you got the quad exhaust. Everyone's thinking that you're just as cool as the neighbor, but you're picking up the fuel economy.
Yeah.
You saved a few bucks, but you're getting the horsepower back. And I love the tips on these. Some of the nicest ones out there on the market. Magnaflow, it's their competition series quad axle back exhaust system, man. Check them out, pretty sweet.
Okay, next up from Starbright is the Starch on Enzyme fuel treatment. Now this thing's gonna stabilize your fuel. It's gonna help with all those ethanol problems you get with that E10 stuff, especially in the winter months, right? It's gonna eliminate and prevent all that gum up and carbon buildup in your fuel injectors and valves.
Yeah, now it's been a huge hit in the marine applications for a long time. And finally you're bringing it into, you know, automotive, all the small toys, you know, your two-strokes and whatnot. So they've got all kinds of concentrations, whether you got diesels, a little guy like this in high concentration form, 25 gallons, you can throw it right in your SUV and run. And you can always splash blend in for each time you fill up to make sure that, you know, the ethanol content absorbs a lot of moistures, just to make sure your fuel system is tip-top. You don't get the varnishes, you don't get, you know, the sludging and all the stuff that, you know, you're familiar with, especially when you're storing a vehicle or toy for a long time.
Especially on projects that stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. It's Starbright. It is their Starch on Enzyme fuel treatment.
All right, next up from Stage 8 locking fasteners. It's a special kit for those high heat applications like turbos.
It's so simple and so easy, but it's bulletproof. If this retainer is in place, right, then you know you haven't lost any torque. It's really simple.
Yeah, you put your clip on there, you can visually check to make sure your fasteners haven't loosened up. Now you think, oh, I just torque that thing, it's gonna be good. Well, especially in high heat applications, you got expansion and then contraction. Well, the parts contract, the gasket yields over time. Well, now that fastener's just kind of sitting there rattling around.
Whether it's
vibrate its way loose. But when you've got a mechanical locking feature on there, you know that thing's gonna be on there for life. And the stainless is a really high temperature resistant material, so it's going to be good in those high temperature applications.
Yeah, whether it's heat, headers, turbos, they've got you covered. It's Stage 8 locking fasteners, mechanical locking fasteners for turbos, and this is great stuff, man.
Yeah, well, you know what time it is?
It's go time.
That's right. We put in our day's worth of work. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching us work. It's time to go goof off and have some fun.
Yeah, let's go do some more paint and body. No.
See you guys next time.
Take care.